Well, hi everybody. Welcome. Welcome to Leaders Beyond the Stage. In this podcast, we will redefine what it means to lead. We have four powerful episodes regarding leadership on the areas of personal development, career success, and entrepreneurship. And let me do a quick introduce about myself. My name is Robin Wong. I was a corporate executive, now a coach, mentor, and a business advisor. I'm very passionate about helping people to be successful and by reaching their full potential. And my other co-host is Lena Wong. Lena is a very special lady, a leader in her own right. Lena just been awarded as a Woman of Influence by the American Chamber of Commerce. Congratulations, Lena. So why don't you do a quick intro?
Thank you, Robin. Hi, everyone. This is Lena Wong. I'm the founder of a charity called Hong Kong Momtrepreneur. We empower mothers through entrepreneurship. I also started a business called Womenters, and we work with organizations or companies that are traditional male dominant. So very happy to be here and co-hosting this with Robin.
Okay, so today I'm very excited to introduce our special guest, Vincent Siu, and who is the founder and CEO of Press Start Studios, a company that specializes on gamification and particularly focus on education. So welcome, and why don't you do a quick intro, Vince, and then tell me about what inspired you in starting your company?
Thanks for having me. Excited to be here. My name is Vince, and I've been doing education things for a long time. I've never been trained as a teacher, but I've been teaching since I was 16. So I started off working with this nonprofit here in Hong Kong. I spent 3 summers with them and just learned all about how to engage in a classroom. And that was a really powerful training experience because I was 16 and my students were 14. And so you can't fall back on your age in a classroom. And so how do you grab the attention? How do you carry yourself? How do you project? How do you have your students listen to you? That was a formative training experience. And then ever since that, I've been not really employed in any formal sort of role within the learning and development or teaching space. It's just that's always kind of dropped into my lap because I guess people know that I can do these things. And so I've just kind of been able to find myself in different spaces like that, facilitating workshops, designing workshops, and so on. And like you said, we do games. I've been playing games since I was even younger than 16. And so somehow just kind of stumbled into realization that if you make something fun and engaging, it generally makes the process of learning much more interesting to people. And so since then, I've just been, melding the two and turning games into powerful learning experiences.
But there's no formal training of gamification in your formal education,
No,
your degree.
no.
And so you obviously had other choices that you could have been working in investment bank, finance, or, as a consultant. And this is how you started in your career, right? When you first came back to Hong Kong when you finished university.
So actually, I did start off in banking, and then I moved to consulting. And so my last role in the bank was more on the innovation and digital strategy side, and that was super fun. I realized that being able to apply lots of different creative ideas to the day-to-day work that I was doing was something that was quite fulfilling to me. And so, yeah, that's kind of where when the consulting role came up, I moved to management consulting. That was quite fun for a while. Got to learn about all sorts of innovation techniques and design thinking, and got to run workshops for people, and got to apply a lot of the sort of instructional design, learning design techniques that I had honed many years prior when I was in school to a more adult and more corporate setting. So that was extremely interesting. And that was around the same time that I started what I'm doing right now as a side project. And so started building almost like a games community just because I love playing games, and people love playing games, and it seemed to be a great way to bring people together. It was just a side thing. There was no business plan to it. It was just something that me and my co-founder did over the weekends and after work, and then it kind of slowly snowballed into something that I'm still doing right now.
And that was the studio you had in Central?
Yes,
and
correct.
where you have all the tables and setting and a lot of board games.
A lot of board games.
Like, honestly, I've never seen so many board games in my life.
Nice.
And that's when I actually met Vince quite a few years back.
Yes.
Oh, I see. So my experience is the most successful entrepreneurs, normally they have very strong passion, right? And rather than having a very detailed business plan and worry about, what could go wrong, and you just go straight into it. Tell me how difficult it is for you, to starting from a small business to where you are. What all has been the challenges that you have faced?
Oh, it's still a small business.
Yeah.
The challenges are too many. How much time do we have? We started off as a side business, and then ran that for about 2 years. That was at the early stage, much more to do with using games as a tool for corporate training, and did a lot of adult learning things. Mostly in that phase where in Hong Kong, there was a huge wave of design thinking and corporate innovation type thing. So that was a nice wave that we rode until the protest happened. And then that just kind of kicked off a whole ripple effect of just a bad sort of business environment. And so I ended up having to move office twice. Got into the space that, again, I just moved out of. And then after that period was when I decided that I wanted to go back to my initial passion of working with schools and working with children and working with teachers, formally within the education space. And then lo and behold, 2 months later, COVID starts. And then that was a 3-year process of trying to grapple with how do you do offline interactive game-based experiences in an environment where nobody can meet offline. So yes, it has been very, very challenging. I'm happy to dive into those things. It's been a conversation.
Okay.
So obviously, teaching adults would be very different from teaching young children. Is there any particular passion of why focusing on young people? I mean, honestly, you mentioned that you had a lot of fun in consulting and also in banking, and you brought in a lot of gaming technique or that experience into a corporate environment where you get a pretty decent paycheck. Why couldn't you just continue doing that and still expand or influence more people that way?
Well, that's kind of what we're trying to do now when we're working with schools and teachers. So within the day-to-day work that we do, obviously, we have kids programs, and we have our team works directly with students. I try to do some of that from time to time just so that I don't lose my touch. But primarily, I operate within the B2B space, working with corporates, but also working with teachers and schools. That's my number one. So the scale issue is huge, because if we're talking about affecting change in the educational landscape, yes, there is the model where you're working with students directly. But I say this to my team all the time as well. It's, if we want to help shift what education means on a systemic level, there are only really 2 options. The first is that we take over every school in the world. The second is that we train every school and every teacher in the world. Now, both options are kind of unrealistic, but option 1 is far more unrealistic than option 2. So when it comes to working with adults, that's the reason that I continue doing that. Now, why do I have more passion about working with children than adults? I think it's very simple. Adults are too good at hiding their feelings and their passion. And kids don't know how to do that. And so the amounts of joy and inspiration you can see from them just explodes. And sometimes, and this is quite sad, adults sometimes forget to have fun. Kids, all they want to do is have fun. And so if you're able to turn a learning experience into a fun one, or better yet, turn a fun experience into an educational one, then the effect and the sort of the end outcomes compound quite a lot. And the effect and the change that you can see in a child within a semester-long after-school program, which is probably just about 12 hours, right, is so much clearer than a corporate training workshop that can last the same time. And that's because you have multiple different reasons and influences behind, and it's all going to a workshop like this. But fundamentally, if a child or a student comes to your workshop, it is because they enjoy it. No amount of parent forcing will make them continue on wanting to do that.
So basically, the ROI on investing in our next generations is way higher.
Well, the ROI, yes, from a monetary standpoint, yes, but from my standpoint,
Yeah.
like what makes me continue to want to do this is the emotional ROI is super
Yeah.
high.
Yeah.
And so I get bored when I, stand in front of a adult audience room, a corporate room, running training workshops every single day. I'm good at it. I think it's interesting during the period that I'm doing it. But when I go home, what makes me the most excited is if I see a child just like ask to do more homework, or they are saying like, I don't want class to end. Can next week come sooner? That is what kind of makes my heart melt.
Interesting. Because I've been brought up obviously from a traditional way of training and education. Can you go a little bit deeper about the way you train the kids, and what some of the success story, and what specific lessons they could learn from this your approach?
Sure. So I also grew up in a quite traditional environment. Mainstream schooling, whether public or private, is very traditional, so to speak, right? And it has unfortunately remained roughly the same over the years. And so I think we all more or less kind of come from that background. And that's kind of why, that reflection can take place. I think a lot of the concerns that parents and teachers are having is always, oh, why is this child not working and only just playing games all the time? And I mean, the answer is pretty simple, because games are fun. But it's not just about games are fun. Why are games fun? Why are children so attached to the idea of, I want to continue playing this game? Is because the game is designed in a way that gives them a feedback loop. Any small thing that they can achieve in this game, they're rewarded with something. It doesn't have to be a point or a badge or whatever. It is just the idea. It could be as simple as, oh, I get to build this thing. Or, oh, I get to acquire this weapon to do this other thing. And if I level up, I get to do this thing better. And so there are very, very micro interactions that are baked into the best games. And that's kind of what we're trying to bring to the education space. And it's interesting because gamification is a term that everybody is throwing around. Oh, gamification in education, we have to make it more gamified. I don't like to use that word, because education is already gamified. Education is gamified in a very basic level, which says that if you get 90 points on an exam, you get an A. That is the same thing as what a video game is. If you shoot this many people, you get this rank, is the same thing. So gamification is already used in education, but why is it not interesting and why is it not meaningful? It is because these are all extrinsic motivators, right? I want to do well in this exam to get a 90, to get an A, because if I do that, I will get into a better school. But I can't feel this school thing if I'm 10 years away from it. I can't feel this career thing if I'm 15 years away from it. And the mode of delivery to make that, to incentivize, is not there. And so how do you create that motivation? How do you create that incentivization? Is to make that process fun in and of itself, so that so that the students are not focused on, I must do this well in order to do this. It's, I must do this well because it is enjoyable to do this well. And maybe if we look around us, there are many things like that. Our favorite hobbies, not like if I play music, I see a guitar over there. How many professional guitar players are there? No, it's just like, I enjoy playing guitar because I can play this song and it makes me feel happy. And how do we port this concept over into the classroom is what we're trying to do. So how that manifests. is imagine learning about creative writing, not just looking at a paragraph, looking at a book, and then having your own response to it. But imagine learning about creative writing because you just defeated a boss together with your friends, and now all you have to do is to tell other people how you defeated that boss. So that's the setup that we want to have. We're gonna play. You're gonna be able to express yourself and create all those things, and you're gonna collaborate with your friends to defeat this boss, and then get this treasure, and then level up, and then do all those things, and then just tell us about it. Tell us about it, and then that is where our students will not stop writing. And to this day, I am still floored just whenever I'm in the classroom, because you will have band 3 students who don't really speak English. I was just in a classroom 2 weeks ago, and they stayed behind for like another half hour just because they could not stop writing in English. And so it is all about creating the environment that is, that's why I don't use gamified, because gamified means that it is not supposed to be a game. But if you create something that is supposed to be fun, then they don't really care about anything else, and they're just going to enjoy the moment. And that is where you can get them, so to speak.
Well, learning is supposed to be fun,
Correct.
right? Always like to have this curiosity that keep you all motivated and learn new things. So obviously, you mentioned you went to traditional school education. I suppose being Chinese, there's certain social expectations or from our parents about what you do in your career. Telling your parents that you do game or gaming or gamifications as your career, how has it been? With your family and relatives.
Um, I think it's always an interesting topic, right? Because how many of us who are not working in traditional fields, how many of our parents actually know what we're doing? Right. So that's always a fun conversation. Now, I think for me at least, how that has transpired is pretty simple. Are you still alive? Are you still able to care for yourself? Are you still interested in what you're doing? If so, okay. So I think as long as those 3 baselines are there, and then from time to time, sometimes it helps to go on podcasts like this, or to have like a talk or a conference or a workshop. You get some photos, you get like a magazine or a newspaper article come out once in a while, and then it's like, oh, hey, here it is. And then they're like, oh, okay, I don't really know what you're doing, but apparently it's okay enough for someone to talk about it. So that kind of just helps with the illusion.
Yep. Same here. Ditto. Definitely. Don't think my parents have any idea what exactly I do. As a matter of fact, I don't think my husband actually knows exactly what I do. So it's definitely but something that I think oftentimes for those of us who grew up in a traditional family, it's always been one of the hurdle or the challenges or obstacle that we have to overcome. You also work with a lot of international partners, right? I see you travel quite a lot. What is that part of your growth strategy, and how do you look for those opportunity?
Yeah. I love that part of the work. And that was something that I had always wanted to do, because the idea that learning should be fun and learning is fun is a universal thing. And so I think I was only really hindered by COVID. And so the business starting right around, as COVID was starting up, that obviously meant that, we were cooped up in Hong Kong for the best part of 2.5, 3 years. And so, yes, there are online programs that we could do at the time, and there are, we're able to work with schools outside of Hong Kong remotely. But I was always thinking, how much of this actually resonates outside, and are we just kind of doing this for ourselves and not anybody else? So I think the first moment that was quite impactful was I had the opportunity to go to New York for another thing, actually. But I like to maximize travel, and so I have some friends in the US, and so we just kind of put together a couple of workshops at university. So I got a chance to run a workshop for students of the Harvard Graduate School of Education, and that was the first time that I had spoken to an international audience outside of Hong Kong, live in person, on this idea of learning through play and what we did. And going into that setting, I was like, oh my God, I don't know. I'm so nervous because these are, Harvard Graduate School of Education people. They're like seasoned educators, or they're like, they have to be like really, really good, right? And I've never been trained as a teacher. I've never done any, like, I just kind of, just do this because it's fun. And that was really cool because the response was really exciting. And I think being a part of different sort of more global communities has definitely helped in terms of meeting people who work in similar fields or who also know people. And so that's been a great way to expand the network. But in terms of just the international stuff, it's just been really rewarding seeing that this work that just a few of us here in Hong Kong doing very humbly is something that people will listen to outside. And like, I've done workshops and spoken to educators in Australia, in the UK, in the US, in Singapore, Malaysia, Philippines, Thailand, mainland China. I feel like I'm probably missing a couple more, but that has just been so interesting because at the end of the day, it's the process and the vision of the work that resonates with people.
So what you mentioned is very inspiring and fascinating, that a new way of learning, right, through games. I was thinking that what needs to happen, to make, this approach, gamification, to be really truly global, and so that all school, everybody will make it an acceptable way, or a way to everybody will just, well, when I want to learn, I just use a gamification approach to learn in a more fun way.
Okay, there is a 3-hour version of this answer, and there is a 3-minute version.
3 minutes version, please.
I think the 3-minute version is that we should be fixated and we should be looking at the vision and the process of learning and not the tools. So what do I mean by this? I mean that traditionally, a lot of people look at the means of learning and the tools of learning and the format of learning. That's why during COVID, we are talking about online versus offline. That's why we're talking about games versus classroom sit-down learning. But those are just the means. We have all hopefully been in online courses and workshops that have been super interesting and super engaging. And that is not because they are online or offline. It is because they were designed in a way that was engaging and interactive. And that is not limited to the mode of delivery. So the moment that we take ourselves out of the medium and we start thinking about how to achieve the learning outcomes or the impacts that we want, is when we start to meld and where these boundaries start to melt away. And so I get this question a lot from teachers and from parents as well. It's like, how are you going to convince this school that you're able to do it, or that this is not taking, or this is also productive time? And the easiest way is, I want to achieve the same things that you want to achieve. I mean, you want your kids to learn. I do too. You want your kids to have fun. I do too. Did you know that that can take place at the same time?
Yeah.
So if we focus on what we're aiming for, then how we aim to achieve it becomes secondary. And that will help us set those things aside. And then we can start to innovate.
Great.
So there are a lot of people who say, if you're good in a training room, you're potentially a good leader. Because in a training room, you basically, in a very short period of time, you need to convince people to, that outcome that you wish to achieve, right, for them. So when you're a good leader, you basically are doing the same thing with a group of people. You're hoping that to lead them. So if I I would call you a leader in this case. In that case, what sort of leader do you think you are?
Sort of leader
Or what
do
is
I
your
think I
leadership
am?
style?
What is my leadership style? I don't really have a like vocabulary for it. I just think that the best kind of leaders are also good at the work that they do. And this sounds very simple, but I think leading by example is the best way. Does that mean that you have to be the best at every single thing within your team? No. But knowing how to do it at a more than competent level helps. Just like you said, right? If you're standing in front of a room as a facilitator or as a trainer, your audience wants to know that you kind of know what you're doing. You kind of know what you're saying, right? And so I think the same definitely applies in all arenas. And so anybody, and when you see all of these news announcements where you have a new CEO parachuted into like a company from a completely different industry, like, yeah, like there are a lot of transferable skills, but do you actually know the industry, right? I think that knowing the industry and knowing the work and being able to execute on that level, um, together with the folks who are actually doing this on the front lines is extremely important, which is why I want to be teaching at least once a semester or at least once every block, because I love doing it. I enjoy doing it. I think I'm okay at it. And that helps keep also, not just my team, but our clients and our partners and our kids. They also know that, hey, this guy doesn't just talk.
So do you think the leader, people can just good leader, by birth, or they're born as a good leader, or leadership skill could be learned?
Definitely can be learned. I think most skills in this world can be learned. Um, I was just giving a talk last night. So a huge part of the work that we do is on creativity. And the talk that I gave to parents actually at a school was titled "Creativity is a Muscle, Not a Gift." And I think definitely leadership is also a muscle, not a gift. Um, you just need to find environments where you are able to practice and fail, where hopefully there are no catastrophic consequences to the failing, or you are trying to set boundaries and you scope the failure so that if you fail at this particular thing, it doesn't sink your company or anything like that. But yeah, it's all about finding opportunities to practice, and making it known to the people that you're practicing with that this is a practice, that you are new to this. And I think there's a lot of benefit to be had from that.
So, going back to what you mentioned, you were at a corporate job, you were doing this as a side hustle. Is there any reason why you took the courage to leave the fat paycheck of the corporate world and then started something that is the big unknown of like starting
Yeah.
press as your core business?
Yeah. So definitely. And actually my last corporate role, I only stayed there for about half a year. I've had 3 corporate roles in my life. So 2 transition periods. So in moving to my third and ultimately final corporate role, I actually managed to negotiate and find a month and a half between the 2 roles. And at that point, I'd already been running Press Start as a side project for like a year and a half. And so there was some traction that was being built, and we were starting to work with a couple of schools through another partner. We were starting to get our first couple of game design projects. And so during that month and a half, I did 2 things. One, I traveled to Tokyo to watch Coldplay. Amazing. Best decision ever. Second was I just spent the remaining month just working on Press Start full time, just to see how much I could build if I were doing this full time, and also whether I would enjoy this life doing this full time. Um, I think it went okay. So by the time I started my third corporate role, my main frustration, my main annoyance was actually I don't have enough time to respond to my other things. And so I didn't really want to go to like company socials or work on the weekends because I got my own work, man. So that was kind of the indication. And so by the time the first client project wrapped up, I was like, hey, maybe this is a good time to see if this is worth pursuing.
In your career journey, do you have a mentor? Do you ever have a mentor or that help you? Do you find it to be useful to you or?
I don't have a personal mentor. I do have role models that I take lessons from, and I just kind of aspire to be. So that's kind of what helps sort of give me the motivation and inspirations.
So as an entrepreneur, you obviously you started, relatively young, and maybe you can share with us, what kind of key qualities you feel are needed to be entrepreneur.
Oh, yeah, thick skin. All the way, thick skin. Ability to be alone and lonely. That makes it sound really sad. It's scary, but it's true. I don't like the word resilience because it's so overused, but I think being able to think on your feet in response to things that are thrown at you, probably pretty good qualities to have. Yeah, because inevitably something is going to happen. And then sometimes something is going to happen and you need to know at least that you're able to respond to it, or you're able to not get flustered by it. And then, so that is the response side. But then the other side, which is the thick skin, is, in order to make stuff happen, you got to chase after things. If you care too much about how you look in front of people, you're not going to get anything.
So we asked this to all our guests before we wrap up. If there's one piece of advice you'd like to give to a younger self, I know you're still young, but to a younger self, what tips would that be and why?
What tips? I will first say that, so I quit my job in 2017, end of 2017. So it's about 7+ years now. I would probably first say that these are the things that are going to happen in the next 7 years. Do you still want to go through with it? So that's probably the first thing. And then advice is just, I don't know. This is something that you're going to have to live on a day-to-day basis, whether you like it or not. And yes, there are many things about what I do that I love, but there are also many things that I do not. So just got to make peace with that.
Okay.
What is it that I don't like?
What's it that you do not like?
Well, first of all, admin work. Can we please have a segment on how admin work sucks? No, I'm just kidding. But look, admin work is terrible. I hate it with a passion. But the other side is also, I'm a solo founder. I have a co-founder for my side project when we were still a side project. But the moment that I did it full time, it was discussed and agreed upon that I was going to take the business and do it full time myself. The part that I love is that you get to you have creative control, you have all of those things. But honestly, the part that is not great is that I have full control and decision making. And so who do you bounce your ideas off with? Who do you talk to when there are challenges that come, right? Yeah, you can talk to your team and you can talk to your employees, but they're your employees. You're supposed to show up for them. You're supposed to lead them. And even if we're in this together, not really in this together. Do you know what I mean? Like it's kind of a different level of in this together. It's more like we are in this together, but if I don't do a good job, they are screwed. And so that is quite a lot to have to think through and sit with if you're just by yourself.
Okay. I hope we can end with more of a positive note, but you make entrepreneur. I hope you can find your mentor. And I personally have a lot of mentors. I call them my mentors. I don't think they see themselves as my mentors, but I don't care. So personally, I do have a few phone numbers that I will just out of the blue call and just like, yeah, burst out in tears or, venting, just to keep that sanity and have someone like a sounding board. And I
So I
think,
do have that. Yes.
okay, so you do have a lot of sounding
Yes.
board, right?
Yes.
Yes. Well, that's important. And so far I've seen Vince very normal and still in good shape because of that. And I do agree, yes, it's a very lonely journey to be a sole founder. And so oftentimes you need those people around you to support you. Yeah. With that, sorry, you want to mention about global shape?
Oh, I don't need to. It's
Okay.
fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
I just thought if you want to,
No,
but I
it's okay.
forgot what you said.
No, it's fine.
Okay.
It's fine. Yeah.
So, wow, thank you, Vince, for coming and giving a very inspiring podcast. And most important, you are very authentic, and and then you just speak your mind. I think that's what we want, really. And I hope the audience will like it and to see the the genuine side of our guests without a lot of pretenses. And so, if you want us to continue, please give us valuable feedback and follow us on our website or LinkedIn. Thank you.
Thank you. Good. Cool.
Thank you.